honestly, can you honestly say another year can match up to what this year is going to be movie-wise? I mean, look at what we've already had released here in 2012 and what's going to be released over the summer. I mean, we've had so many successful movies, and the thing is, they have a lot more ways to promote the film, and that's why all these films are being looked at as so successful. Because you have Twitter and Facebook now that have just surpassed over 900 million users, which are a fantastic website to let your fans know about the film. I know the actors and the actresses use Facebook and Twitter to their advantage to promote the thing, something we didn't have back in 2001, 2002. Movies like Spider-Man had to survive on their own. Yes, they were financially backed, but the thing was, you had an understanding of what Spider-Man was because you read the comics. You had an understanding of what the X-Men uh, saga was all about because you read the comics, but you didn't have Facebook and Twitter as popular as they are today. So I think that with the Facebook and Twitter social media networks exploding in popularity with over 900 million users in Facebook's case, it's a tremendous opportunity for the actors and actresses to really promote this movie and put it over in a way that it couldn't be put over if it were to have been released probably in about 2001, 2002. Now, if you're listening to the YouTube version of the show here on youtube.com, Jonathan Clarke 22, you see the promotional graphic for the Avengers. It looks phenomenal, doesn't it? I mean, there are about 7 superheroes on this poster. They're all surrounding the tremendous A graphic, which of course stands for Avengers. You see the information down there on the poster, and information will scroll across your screen as to how you can catch more information on the Avengers. They have a website and a Facebook and everything, so look for the information scrolling across your screen there to get more information on the Avengers as well. You can head to websites like movie.com that have summaries about the Avengers and everything, and another good resource is Internet Movie Database. That's IMDb.com for additional information on the release of the Avengers. This one looks fantastic. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, they're all coming together. The Hulk is there for the first time ever. Now, I want to know, our poll for this week's edition of the show is which one of these superhero movies that were previously released based on the individual superhero was your favorite? Was it the Hulk because he was mean and green? Was it Captain America because of his striving to save America from evil? Was it Thor? I have to give it up for Thor, though, because I think Thor was probably one of the most successful films released. It was one of the more recent ones released. Just here recently, Captain America dropped on DVD and Blu-ray. That was a good one. Chris Evans portraying Captain America, great for him, and that gave him a lot of publicity. But I really think, if you ask me from my perspective, the movie that was the most successful out of these superheroes probably was Thor. Probably a toss-up between Thor and maybe Iron Man. I mean, Iron Man 1 and 2 were incredible movies. Thor and Iron Man is what I'm going with. I really can't decide between the two. I think Iron Man had it with action, and I think that Thor had it more with special effects than action. I think Thor was a little bit slow with action. But the screenwriting, the story behind Thor was incredible. And the thing about this movie is you're not going to have to sit through something about how each individual superhero was created. Yes, you're going to find out more detail than you did probably in films like the Hulk and the Iron Man, the individual films. But you're not going to have to sit through finding out how the Hulk was created, per se, or how Thor was created, or Captain America, or Iron Man, because you know that from the individual films that were released for the better part of 2002 right up until 2012, the present time. Over the last 10 years, we have seen so many incredible superhero movies released from both Marvel Comics and DC, everything from Batman, The Dark Knight, to the Spider-Man trilogy. Really want to see another Spider-Man, honest to God, and I really wouldn't mind seeing another Captain America or a third Iron Man. Hopefully we'll get those. It seems like Marvel Comics and Stan Lee are always coming up with ideas. I mean, Stan Lee is a legend. Whatever way you want to look at it, I mean, Stan Lee has done a lot of stuff. He's even done narration for video games in the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Icon is the way I guess you could describe Stan Lee. Definitely he's going to be making a cameo in the Avengers. He usually does for a successful superhero movie that he's had anything to do with over the years. He usually comes in and makes about a 10-second cameo. He did it for Spider-Man, he's done it for X-Men, and he's probably going to do it again for the Avengers because it's suspected to be the biggest superhero movie perhaps of all time, and usually you see him come in there and get a little cameo in. So it's going to be really fun to see that. And the thing that will really make you want to go see this movie is definitely, the special effects. Just imagine how many special effects were used for a film like Iron Man or the Hulk, and then you multiply that by about 7 because you have 7 superheroes in this film. Can you imagine how much special effects are going to be put behind this? Can you imagine how much detail is going to be in this? I mean, it's going to be amazing. I mean, you're just going to have to multiply everything by about 7 to 8 times, and you're going to get what the Avengers is going to mean to the box office. I would imagine it's going to bring in anywhere from about $300 to $400 million. It's probably going to be a more successful film than Fast 5 was, and you know how successful Fast 5 was. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, people like Vin Diesel and The Rock really put that one over the top because of Facebook and Twitter and the promotional forums they used to advertise it. But I think, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to go out on a record for saying that I think this is going to be a more successful film than probably Spider-Man or the more recent films we've seen like Fast 5. Because honestly, I think the Avengers really does have it. Special effects-wise, story-wise, it's going to be incredible. I said here earlier on in the show, you're not going to have to sit through finding out how the Hulk, the Iron Man, Captain America were created and how they came to be. What you will have to sit through, though, is probably about a half-hour analogy on how the Avengers were formed. Because usually that's what they do with a superhero movie that's released for the first time. In the first installment of movies like the Hulk and Spider-Man and Captain America here recently, we've had to sit through at least a half hour of background information, a backdrop as to how these superheroes were created. We're going to have to do it again for the Avengers. We're going to have to find out how they came to be, how citizens and society called upon all the greatest superheroes of all time to form an allegiance to dethrone evil, because one superhero is not able to get the job done. You're going to see them get themselves into more than one predicament and have to work together to get themselves out of it. But I think that this unity of all these superheroes is a fantastic idea and a way to dominate the box office. It's definitely going to take over the #1 spot in the box office, and I'm going to tell you why. When it was previously released in other countries, it took over the #1 spot in the box office, and I believe its first week, and generated more money than any other film theatrically. So I think that in the U.S. and Canada, we can expect this one to take over the #1 spot in the box office. Now, some movies get the #1 spot and are only able to maintain it for about 2.5 weeks, depending on what's dropped after that one takes up the #1 spot, or how long it's played theatrically. Some movies are pulled sooner than others. Depending on what's released, I think that the Avengers will maintain the #1 spot in the box office for at least 4 to 5 weeks. And you're going to hear this talked about on radio, you're going to hear this talked about on YouTube, you're going to hear this talked about on social media like Facebook and Twitter for some time to come. I know the Avengers have a Facebook and Twitter, and information on theatrical release and probably the Blu-ray and DVD release, which will come 3 months after, will be tweeted and will be dropped on Facebook for your superhero needs. So definitely pay attention to the Avengers on Facebook and Twitter. We probably will follow them on Twitter and Facebook. I know that Marvel Comics also have a Facebook and a Twitter. So make sure you find all those social media pages to keep in touch as to what's going to be dropping about the Avengers over the next couple of weeks. I know that videos of interviews, promotional trailers and everything have been tweeted both on Facebook and Twitter. So definitely make sure you check all of it out. I'm going to be really excited to see this one. I might not get a chance to see it theatrically. I'd love to see it theatrically because I'd love to see it come to life, especially in IMAX, because it's going to be incredible to see the special effects on a huge screen. I'd love to see this one theatrically. I'll probably have to resort to seeing it on Blu-ray and DVD, but if you have seen it theatrically, either in IMAX or you've seen it in standard definition, let me know what you think of it. Did you enjoy the presentation of the film? What did you think of the special effects? Did you enjoy the story behind the Avengers? Was it everything you expected it to be and more? If you saw this one theatrically, it drops today. If you hear this audio commentary on YouTube a couple of days after you see it, leave us a comment and let us know what you think of it. Our YouTube videos generally get about 150 views a week, so definitely make sure that you let us know what you think of the Avengers if you hear this, because I really want to know what you guys think of it. Do you think it's a movie worth checking out? Do you think it's a movie that's going to exceed the expectations of every critic out there? Because I guarantee you there are going to be at least 10 or 15 critics to a time that are going to criticize this movie, and then there are going to be your average critics that put this over as a must-see film. But I want to know from your perspective, the listening audience out there who listen to this show on YouTube. As I said, our YouTube videos get about 150 views per week. By the time we look at our ratings, we get anywhere from 1,000 views for each video. So definitely make sure you let us know what you think of it by leaving us a comment. Do what the video suggests, and let me know if this is a movie that I should go see. Because I like to get an opinion before I actually invest the time and the money, especially, to going and seeing this. I know that Marvel will spend. That's one thing that you can guarantee about the Avengers, and something that you shouldn't think twice about. Marvel will guaranteedly spend on this movie. Detail-wise, production value will be there financially. Special effects-wise, they will spend. I mean, when Pirates of the Caribbean, the fourth one, Stranger Tides, was released, they said Disney was going to spend beyond anyone's expectations for the film because they wanted